Okay, Hondo, I have some comments for you on your freshman survival guide short essay assignment that we did the other day in class. The first thing that we discussed as one of the requirements of this assignment is adding exigence or urgency to your writing. And looking at your comments here, I think you achieved that in a pretty satisfactory way. Let's look at your opening here. Freshman! Exclamation mark. Well, that's definitely got some good exigence there. You're in high school now. You need to know what you're doing. If you follow these simple rules, everything will be fine. But if not, you will find high school much harder than it should. All right, I hear a nice, seriously worded warning that should get the reader's attention quickly. And I think that particularly where you say, if not, you will find high school much harder than it should, or maybe that it should be, might be one way you want to end that. I think you hit that kind of that sense of urgency. Okay, continuing on. First thing you need to know, you always want to arrive on time to whatever you're doing. One reason this will help is if you're in athletics. I want to pause because I think you're carrying on down the road with more ideas, and let's stop and talk about your first idea, arriving on time. Well, you use always. I think that has good exigence. I think perhaps you could even turn up the volume, slightly by saying you always want to arrive on time to whatever you're doing, and then you could add some word like this is vital or this is crucial to success. Add some word that has some punch value to it. Then you continue on, you're talking about athletics. One reason this will help is if you're in athletics, if you're late to practice, you're going to find yourself doing all these hard exercises, such as running around the track while everyone else is practicing football. I think one way that you could give yourself more exigence, if you took a word choice here, hard, and you switched it with something that has a lot more descriptive value. Excruciating exercises. Life-threatening exercises. Just something with a lot more drama, and then you have exigence. I think you're clear. I think what you've said is clear. I just think you could pump up the volume and bring up your exigence with just a little switch on the word choice. All right, let me take a few of these things out of there. I'm going to keep always. I like it. All right, then we move on. This will also help in class, especially if you have Mrs. Luton. I have never personally served one of her detentions because I follow the simple rules, but I hear her detentions are the worst penalty you can receive. That's another place, I think, Hondo, that you can increase that sense of urgency. What you said here on the worst penalty you can receive is fairly general, and you can be more specific. Even if it's an exaggeration, this type of an assignment that I've given you here gives you a little leeway to be creative and have a little fun with it. So you, instead of saying the worst penalty you could receive, you could be specific, like, I hear her detentions involve chaining freshmen to their desks until they're finished. Just some silly exaggeration because you're not trying to be factual here. You're trying to provide a word of warning to these incoming freshmen who need your wisdom. So that might be one way that you could pump up and bring up your sense of urgency is by being more specific. Okay, I'm going to take that one out of there. And then moving on. Second, never procrastinate. I like the word never. It's clearly attention-getting, good exigence. This rule can prove most difficult to abide by. Love the word abide because it sounds formal. It sounds like you really know what you're talking about. Even some of us seniors have trouble with this one, but never do it. Again, never. Nice warning sounding word. The reason you never procrastinate is because even if you have theater or art or even an aid period, you never know where you're going to have a full period of things to do. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get lucky and you get an easy assignment and try to write a 4-page essay the class before and even get it done. But you usually don't make a very good grade. Sometimes you may make a decent grade. Okay. I think right here on that section that you just said, we have a lot of ideas crammed into one long sentence, and I think if you maybe broke that down to 2 sentences, you could be a little clearer and a little more specific. By being more specific, it gives you a chance to elaborate and say something like, sometimes you get lucky and you have a substitute teacher, and your 4-page essay on the fall of Rome, okay, so you you get more specific, and all of a sudden it becomes more urgent, because that would be a hard essay to write. You may make a decent grade. You might, instead of saying decent grade, you might be specific. You might even make a 70 or even a 71. By being specific, you add value and importance to what you have to say, just through the very use of specifics. And then here on your ending, if you take the time and effort, which really is just that much, and it's usually not even that hard, you will probably make an A on it. That's not a guarantee, but just try it, and you will see see that I'm right and you're wrong. I like this confidence that you have at the end, that I'm right and you're wrong. But I think that perhaps right here, I like the word guarantee also. I would say that has a certain promise to it, but I don't want you to use it in the negative. I don't want you to say that's not a guarantee. I want you to add like the urgency to your writing by saying, if you do this, then I guarantee that you will make the better grade that you're wanting. By switching around the way that you approach what you're trying to say to making it, you're guaranteeing something rather than saying, now that's not a guarantee. One has urgency and the other one has like this kind of wishy-washy position on it. And you want to take a strong position. Now, what I have to say is important. You need to listen to me. I think you've done that, but I think by being more specific and taking a little more creativity with your writing, I think you'll get what you want out of that sense of urgency. You having a sense of urgency when you write makes the people who read your writing pay attention to it. If that person is grading your writing, then the number of grade that you're going to get on your writing goes up. So there's my exigence or my urgency, and why it's important for you to take that strong stand and speak with the person who has authority and interest in what they're writing, and has a sense of, I'm invested in what I have to say, and it's important that you hear what I have to say. When you have that tone as a writer, then the people who read your writing stay engaged in your writing, your grade will be better. So there's some exigence on my comments toward you. Okay, I want to end by talking about this present participle phrase and sentence variety. One of the things I asked you guys to do was to, throughout your paragraph, to make sure that you use this present participle phrase as a sentence starter. That's taking a verb, and instead of saying second never procrastinate like down here, that would be the same as taking that and saying procrastinating. Well, that's a long word for me to write. Procrastinating is a bad idea. And now you've got a sentence that starts with an action verb, and it adds some interest and variety to your sentences. And as I look through your paper, I think that you're going to need to rework it and pull out at least one or two sentences per paragraph and try to restart them using a present participial phrase, because that was one of the requirements of the assignment. And you're going to need to rework that. Remember that the goal of using a sentence starting with such a thing as a present participial phrase. I want to point at this. That's not letting me. Okay. Is to achieve sentence variety. If you achieve sentence variety, again, the person reading your stuff that you have to say stays engaged. When a person who's grading your paper stays engaged while they're reading what you've written, your grade's going to go up. So you don't want to lull them into some sort of a boredom by saying the same things over and over. And I want to end quickly, Hondo, by saying that I think in general, you are cramming a lot of thoughts into... Let's see. Hang on a second. Okay. Continuing on, I would just want to say that I think you're putting too many thoughts into one sentence as in a general rule. And I bet you've heard that said before. You got to watch out for run-ons. If you look up here in your first paragraph, freshman, you're in high school now, you need to know what you're doing. End that sentence there and start a new one. If you follow these simple rules, everything will be just fine. You can end that sentence there. But if not, you'll find high school much harder than it should be. I think that needs a little ending on that sentence. First things you need to know, comma, you always want to arrive on time to whatever you're doing, period. One reason this will help is if you're in athletics, period. If you're late to practice, you're going to find yourself doing all these hard exercises such as running around the track while everyone else is practicing football. There's the end of your original sentence, and really you have three sentences. crammed into one, you're going to be clear in what you're saying and more organized in your thoughts if you try to say less per sentence. And if you recognize that as a trend, as a writer in yourself, it will help you back up and edit your writing as you get ready to hand it in. I'm not counting off for that on this assignment, but I do want you to be self-aware. This will also help in class, especially if you have Mrs. Luton. There's your sentence ending right there, Hondo. I have never personally served one of her detentions because I follow the simple rules, but I hear detentions are the worst penalty you can receive. All right, there's the end of your original sentence. You can see you've got two sentences kind of crammed into one. Look at your last paragraph, and let's finish looking at run-ons. Second, never procrastinate. It's a great sentence. It doesn't have to be long. That's really the end of your fresh sentence right there. This rule can prove the most difficult to abide by. End it. Even some of our seniors have trouble with this one, but never do it. End it. That was the end of your original sentence. The reason you never procrastinate is because even if you have theater or art or an aid period, you never know when you're going to have a full period of things to do. Okay, that was the right amount of material in one sentence, and you ended it there. Good job. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get lucky and you get an assignment, and you try to write a 4-page essay the class before and even get it done. End it. But you usually don't make a very good grade. Sometimes you may make a decent grade. That needs a little bit of work right there to make that sentence flow. But that would be your next sentence. You need like kind of a conjunction. But you usually don't make a very good grade, even if sometimes you may make a decent grade. Need some wording there between good grade and sometimes. If you take the time and effort, comma, which is really just that much, and it's usually not even that hard, comma, you will probably make an A on it, period. Okay, that's the correct length of sentence. It needs a little doctoring, but that's the right length. It's not a run-on. That's not a guarantee, but just try and you'll see that I'm right and you're wrong. And that last sentence is the right length. It's not a run-on. Okay, so I want to talk to you first about exigence. I would say on exigence, I would give you a solid 95. I think you have an attention-getting, urgent tone. Next time I might grade it a little more harshly and make you be more specific to get a grade of an A for your exigence and your urgency and your attention-getting tone. But I would count this one as an A. But on present participial phrases, I mean, this is kind of a gimme because there aren't any. So I'm going to mark down a 50 until you do some revisions. You hand it back in to me, and you pull out 2 or 3 sentences per paragraph. I would say no more than 2 per paragraph. And you trade them around to where you start with a word that begins with ing, a present participial phrase, and you just rework that sentence. Then I will re-average that grade, and it will be passing. I'm not grading for run-ons, but you can see that you'll want to make sure that you are being careful on your run-on sentences, and if you have somebody who can look at it quickly and give you a proofread after you think you've found them all, and to put them in front of somebody else's eyes and do some peer editing, that's a great idea too. So hand me in your notes for the things that I said to you on your grade report here. Hand me in the grades that I've given you for exigence and the 50 for the present participial phrase and sentence variety, and I'll record them. Then you can retype this, hand it in to me with your revisions, and I will re-average, hopefully, your present participial phrase sentence variety with this 50, and then you should have somewhere in the neighborhood of a middle B. And, okay, thanks, and good luck, good job, etc. Okay.